following announcement has been paid for by the WZWA Network.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the WZWA Network and our review show here of WrestleMania 38 Night 2. I'm your host with the most on the West Coast, Karlifornia and Fury. It's a joy to be here, especially with you, my friend Daniel Johnston. What's going on, Juicy Boy?
Oh, fucking, there is a lot going on coming out of this weekend, WrestleMania 38, Night 2. But let's not talk about me. Let's talk about our esteemed co-analyst here for this review, here this evening / morning, because we're in different time zones.
Absolutely, bro. You know, yesterday we had the opportunity to review the show with one Jet Jaguar, but right here, right now, it is my honor, privilege to introduce, I would say, a very good friend of the WZWA Network.
Yes.
On the other side of the planet. Most of you out there, you should know by now who this is, okay? Because he is a member of the famous Dudley family from ECW, okay? He's the big kahuna from Liberty All-Star Wrestling, okay? He is the man that runs the Bay Ragni show. And I've said his name, so now you should know. It is the one, it is the only Mr. Bay Ragni. How are you, sir?
Guys. Thank you for welcoming me back. Thank you for that amazing introduction. And in my part of the planet, good morning to you both. In your part of the planet, good evening to you both.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Good morning to you, sir. There we go. That's very civilized, isn't it? You know? Very gentlemanly, nice, civil way to begin the review. I like that.
How about that? I got a better way to begin the review. How about this? I saved this from last night.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things to a little sip on or shot, whatever you want to call it. Peanut butter whiskey. Yeah, I know Carl usually has a little glass of wine. So I have a little leftover glass of wine from last night's WrestleMania. I have my shot. So cheers to you guys, my friends. If you have them, bottoms up. If not,
up, my friend.
Best of luck, love, and light to the whole world out there.
Absolutely, my friend. I have a beer tonight. The red wine will be for later, but I'm props to you, sir, for in the morning having a little bit of a sip. I like it.
I felt left out last year.
Yeah.
I
felt very
did
left
get
out.
you up quite early in the morning.
It's a little bit of a dram in the AM, you know?
I wouldn't say that. I just wasn't prepared. So this year I made sure to save a little taste. So I was prepared this morning.
Yeah.
And actually I was laying in bed and I popped on my phone. I had a message from Carl, 6:30 my time. And I was like, wow. Part of me was like, get your ass out of bed. The other part of me is like, I'm sorry, guys. I got to let you wait a couple hours.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what, though, dude? Peanut butter whiskey, like peanut butter is a staple of any good breakfast. So it's not even daytime drinking. It's a healthy breakfast. It's a healthy breakfast.
There you go. And I recommend if you get it, like I like the little shot things and pop them in the freezer, man. Woo.
That sounds
very nice. Very nice.
Sounds very good. Very good.
Yeah. Tasty.
Definitely. Well, boys, this is exciting. We're going to have a bit of a chinwag about night 2 of WrestleMania. Mr. Ragni, I have to ask you, did you have the chance to watch night 1 at all?
I did not. And actually I was when we were putting this together, I wanted to do both nights because I wasn't sure which night Austin was going to be on. But I knew usually like Sunday mornings are kind of hectic for me, so I wouldn't be able to really commit. So I was like, all right, Monday will be a lot easier for me to do. So that's why I chose night 2. But it seemed like out of the 2 nights, guys, which one did you think was better?
Oh, geez, what do you think, DJ?
I reckon night 2 was better. Like I enjoyed night 1, but I reckon night 2 was better for my taste as a fan, at least.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I guess night 2 might edge night 1 for me, just because I think I laughed and applauded more in my chair over things that took place on night 2.
Like like I felt like yesterday when we were watching night 1, because Carl and I watched the show together. Before we review something, we always both watch it together so we can react in real time to it. For night 1, it was like we were having fun and everything like that, but we were also trying to entertain ourselves a little bit through our own conversation. Night 2,
Gotcha.
it felt as if we were like watching a wrestling show, both of us sitting there, edge of our seats, getting into it, getting excited. So that's the distinction for me, at least.
Yes. Well, night 2 did begin, and we had the for us it was good because we watched it after it had finished in real time, so we were able to skip between the matches and skip all the long drawn out stuff that usually goes on a 4-hour show. So that was kind of to our advantage. So the first thing that we saw obviously was time to play the game. And out came Triple H, or as Dave Meltzer in his tweet likes to call him, Paul Levesque, like he's a close personal friend of his. He came out, obviously, popped his boots there in the ring, gave his thank yous and welcomed us to WrestleMania. Mr. Ragni, Bay Ragni, what did you think of Triple H coming out there for this moment?
I thought it was an amazing way to start the show. Look, something that I do appreciate with WWE has really, I think, embraced more and more over the years from what I can tell, because again, I don't really watch it, but I see my friends in the wrestling business and wrestling fans that I'm friends with on Facebook, etc., sharing out their armchair quarterback comments or what's happening. And I do see a lot of love, a lot of love given to, people like Triple H, which is easy when you're the vice president of the company to give that love. But they do show some love to the older guys in the business that did something for them. So especially somebody before he even became the vice president that left such a mark and an impact on the WWE over the last 20 plus years. I thought it was an amazing way to start the show and a great touch. And
Absolutely.
Triple H is over like a mofo. So yeah, nice way to get that crowd pumped and started.
Definitely, I echo those sentiments. Jooseyboy, your thoughts on seeing Triple H come out there? I know over the years you have a love-hate thing with Triple H sometimes, Jooseyboy. So what were your thoughts?
I mean, obviously, I regardless of how I feel about fake professional wrestling and the writing of that said piece, like type of entertainment, I never wish health issues on anybody. I mean, I'm glad that Triple H is going to be okay. It's sad that he has to retire in this way without getting that proper send-off. But it's easy as a fan, especially if you're somebody that doesn't like Triple H, if you're like a real, Triple H hater, because they are out there, people that just don't value Triple H at all. It's easy to sit there and say, because he's part of the family, he gets to open WrestleMania. He's old and he's retired and he has a defibrillator installed. So why does he have to come on here and waste time on the show? I think that this was a very classy, organic, natural way to open the show. I didn't feel like this was, the McMahons turning this into something about themselves. I didn't feel like this was something that was gratuitous or self-indulgent. This felt like a person who devoted the last 30 years of his life to the business, is a student of the game to such a degree that his in-ring moniker is the game, because it literally became his gimmick, what a student of this business he was. And so, yeah, I thought it was really classy that he came in, did the famous Triple H water spit that we all know and love, got on the mic, All he said was a simple thank you. He didn't waffle on with one of his sermons like from the Evolution days. He said thank you, and then he sort of verbally signified his transition from, having one foot in the ring and one foot in the office to fully being on the creative office side of it when he welcomed everyone to WrestleMania, kind of inheriting that from Vince McMahon, who, if you guys remember, did that line for what may be the final time we ever hear it at last year's WrestleMania. So it seems like Triple H may have inherited that torch as kind of being the host, the representation of the ownership of the company at these big events going forward. And of course, I thought it was very classy the way that he left his ring, the boots in the ring and the microphone next to the boots, exemplifying his work in the ring and on the mic. Very classy, very well done, short and sweet as well.
Very good. Short and sweet, which is the opposite of your very deep analysis there, my friend.
Yes.
Well done.
Yes.
I love it,
Juicy
bro.
Boy said more than Triple H.
Yes, pretty much.
No, but very, very astute observations there, bro. Especially with the comment about the boots, the microphone. Very touching, bro. Very touching. Okay.
I want to say this
mate.
real quick though.
Sure.
I mean, we've seen in recent time, we've seen people who have retired from the business with major serious back injuries, and they come back. We've seen Shawn Michaels do it. We've seen Edge do it. So, and there's been a few others, I'm sure. For some reason, yes, he's definitely retired. But I think at some point down the road, when he has that A-OK, we're going to see one more match out of Triple H.
Ooh, okay. All right. That's the interesting
Bold
observation
prediction.
there.
Bold prediction.
Very bold. I like it. Well, I hope that
If Ric Flair is pushing to get back in the ring, and I mean another guy who we almost lost a couple years ago, and Flair looks amazing, and yeah, Flair's chomping at the bit to get back in that ring, which I hope he doesn't, because I don't want to see that, but. Yeah, you never know. It's tough, especially with a guy like those that have been in the business so long. It's very hard mentally, especially, to step away from that.
Yes, it does seem to be. I've when I interviewed Don Morocco, I asked him, when those days are behind you and you're used to getting that adrenaline rush, and the opportunity to be creative. And I asked you that when I interviewed you, Bay. What is it in your life that you reach out to fulfill that thing that you were used to fulfilling for so many years? So we'll see how it goes for him. But let's crack on with the show, guys. We got the opening contest here. The Raw Tag Team titles were on the line. As I said yesterday, as I say on almost every review, I don't think there should be separate tag titles for separate TV shows, but it is what it is. RK Bro, Alpha Academy, and the Street Profits in this contest. I'm going to throw this to you, Juicy Boy. What were your thoughts on the opening matchup on this show?
Yeah, well, last night with Jet, we talked about how we thought it was stupid to introduce Gable Steveson on the stage and just do nothing with him and not have Chad Gable, who's also an Olympian, and he's doing this smarmy intellectual heel gimmick, to not have him getting Gable Stevenson's face. Well, they must have been listening to our review of night one and made some last minute changes because of what happened at the end of this match, but I'll let you get to that, Carl. Overall, I thought that this is probably the best triple threat tag team match that I've seen in a while. These matches can be difficult to pull off, I'm sure, for the guys involved. I think I heard somebody in a recent interview talking about these kind of matches, and they sort of said, it was Jet last night referring to another multi-person match, who said each time that you put an extra person into a match, it kind of ratchets up the complexity of it. these 6 guys that were in this match made it look easy. Everything was smooth. The crowd was so into this as well. I mean, you could really tell that everyone was firing on all cylinders. I really I really had a great time. This was a fantastic, fun way to open the show, and I'm going to give it a B plus. Like, I thought it was, a tremendous way to open the show.
Yeah, cool, bro. I'm kind of the same. When I see that there's a multi-tag team match, I kind of feel like I've seen so many happen at WrestleMania, because it feels like they try and get a bunch of the guys on the show. So the tag titles always seem to have these types of matches. But I really did enjoy it. And before it began, I was like, hopefully this is enjoyable. And it really was. The crowd were into it. I was really impressed with the shape that Chad Gable's in. I've seen him here and there over the years, but it really feels like he's really stepped it up with his work in the gym. Otis, I feel he's better as a heel. Corey Graves is just killing me again on commentary with some of the crap he says. The Viper has entered the chat. Shut up. Again, what's with the referees with the fade haircuts? All those referees have these fade haircuts and nice tans, and I don't know. I don't like it. I like this Gable and Otis team. I think they should be a long-term team. I think this is really working for both of them. Love the Steiner Bulldog. The Doomsday Device blockbuster was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Riddle, again, the springboard RKO. The crowd were just came unglued at that point, and then you follow it up with Orton hitting that great RKO on Chad Gable to win the contest. Mr. Bay Ragni, what did you think of the opening match?
So I thought, like, after watching the match in its entirety, first thing I thought to myself was a perfect opening match. It was a hot match, a lot of nice little hot spots and high spots to get that crowd popping and pumped up for the night. It's picture perfect old school booking to get that crowd involved early on. It was a great way to start the show. I had no idea who Street Profits were, who Alpha Academy was. The only reason I know who Matt Riddle is because he's from my old area, the Philadelphia area, and he went to the Monster Factory. I think my buddy Blue Meanie helped train him as well, with Danny Cage over at the Monster Factory. Great talent. Everybody in the ring was great, but the one thing that I really noticed instantly when Orton got that hot tag when he came in, it was just very noticeable to me. His level of work rate over everybody else in the ring. It was, you can just see, and he should be a bigger star back in the company. I know he's been through a roller coaster ride through the years, it seems like, with him, but he is a true star of that company. And I don't know what's going on with why they got him in a tag team now. I think he should be kept singles, but whatever spot they dig out for him and Matt Riddle, it's working. Street Profits and Alpha Academy, they seem like they both have a lot of talent, but I could not stand. It was driving me nuts. Both of their gimmicks and everything, it looks so like cheesy, and just like I was like, that's what WWE came up with, and this is what they had their their design department make for these guys to wear in the ring. It just, I didn't like that at all. Some great moves and everything, but it was, like I said, really nice opening match, great way to please the fans, and great way to start a show.
Excellent. Yeah. And of course, after the contest took place, they were all having a celebratory drink in the ring, and I laughed because of the fact that all those guys were in the ring, all had their cups filled, but Chad Gable went straight up to Gable Steveson and smacked it out of his hand. No one else. I just thought that the smack of the cup out of his hand, that made me laugh. And obviously there was a bit of a showdown there, which ended with Gable hitting a belly-to-belly on Chad. Bay, what did you think of this moment?
honestly, that part I don't remember too much because I thought the match was over and I got up to refill my drink, and then I came back and I was like, oh shit. So I caught like the tail end of that. And again, I don't know half of these. I don't know. I was saying that to my other half, Coco. I was like, she was like, how's the show? And I was like, honestly, like, I don't think I know like 80-90% of the people getting in the ring.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's an interesting perspective nonetheless. Jooseyboy, what did you think of this?
Yeah, this was what I thought they should have done last night, but I mean, not necessarily on night one, but this was how you should have used Gable Steveson. They shouldn't have even had him come out at all on night one. What they should have just done was cut to him in the crowd, and then it might have been a good idea to have Chad Gable maybe say a few words on the mic during his entrance and kind of maybe reference Gable Steveson and say, you know, the WWE already has an Olympic, you know, an Olympian and an Olympic caliber wrestler. And yeah, we've already got a Gable, you know, something like that. And then they could have proceeded with the segment. So basically, I really liked it, but it made what they did with Gable Steveson on night one even more stupid in retrospect. So, you know, that's great.
Good call, bro. Good call. Let's move forward in the proceedings here. I was pretty pumped up for this one. It's the big man, that big bastard. Omos.
He's a big fucking Rhino.
Yeah, taking on Lashley, who usually I would call, you know, a big bastard, but in comparison looked like a baby. It was
it was so strange. Weird. It was surreal.
It's weird seeing someone so big look like a child in comparison. So this is our big hoss fight, bitch. And I will run through my 5 notes here very quickly. Love the slap from Lashley to Omos's face.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed this because it's different flavors, a different thing, you know, 2 big bulls going at it. You know, not everything has to be a 5-star Meltzer classic, 6 stars if it's in Japan. I feel like Omos he appears to be gaining more confidence in the ring now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when he was teaming with AJ, you could see that here and there he would do a little bit, probably come in for the finish, but now he's by himself. Now it's great to see this big guy gaining confidence, and you know, it's just, I mean, he's a spectacle, let's be honest. Again, weird seeing Bobby look so tiny and getting caught when jumping off the top rope. I was fucking surprised that Bobby beat him. I don't know why they made this decision. I kind of feel like Omos should have kept this aura about him for at least another year. If you need to get it done, like, at least let it go for a bit longer. And if this is the loss, that's his first loss, don't make a habit of him losing, because I don't want it to be like when Rusev was like undefeated for 2 years. He loses one match and then all of a sudden every week on TV, you know, he wins one, he loses one. How do you go from 2 years of not losing to all of a sudden just being like everyone else? So I hope they don't make a habit of it. I don't agree with him losing. I don't think it would have hurt Lashley for him to lose this one. Just think it hurt him. Bay Ragni, thoughts on the big man?
Exactly. I remember this guy from last year, and I was like, "Oh my god, he's a monster. He's huge." And for a big man, he can work tremendously. You know what I mean? And you know, you were saying about Bobby Lashley, how he looked small. To me, he didn't look as small as normal, you know, with a big man type guy like that, with you know, and Bobby Lashley's a big dude, but I didn't think he looked so small, and that was the one thing that really surprised me. But also too, again, I was thinking to myself, this is classic old school booking. This is the way I used to book my shows. You give them that nice, happy, hot opening match with the fan favorites going over, and then boom into the next match. It's gonna be more slower, methodical, and but where they went wrong with this, absolutely, I was so shocked and perplexed. I was like, why in hell are you? I mean, this guy, he's basically still new. this Omos, and he's this giant monster. Why are you having him take the pin? You just killed him. You just destroyed the whole big man thing that WWE/WWF has done for the last 50 years. It makes no sense. I don't understand it. It should never have happened because Lashley could have took the pin and he loses zero credibility. You're up against this. How tall is that guy? 7'6", 7'7". There's nothing lost there. It's putting the big man over by making him take that pin. It's like you're saying with the other guy. It just, that was the only part of the match I did not like. And Omos at one point growled, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's Chewbacca."
Very good point there, right? Like I would have liked to have seen him just like along his way. He just collects the Intercontinental title, collects the US title, still hasn't been beaten. He's got 2 titles now. And then like eventually you have the guy who's like a double champion face whoever, Roman Reigns. If he hadn't lost by that point, then okay, well, who's going to win this one? Roman's seemed to have beaten everyone else. Can he get through this guy? But Juicy Boy, it's time for you to give your thoughts on this. I know you're a big fan of Omos.
I am, but I fear after what we saw at WrestleMania, all right, I'll talk about the match itself. I really liked the classic old school booking of the match. I've already seen people online saying that, it was boring and plotting and, Omos can't work and, he's just the new version of Great Khali. I don't recall ever seeing Great Khali take a vertical suplex or, step smoothly with one step over the top
rope. I thought he looked quite comfortable bouncing off the ropes. He was like,
Absolutely.
So to those people that spent a significant portion of their time shitting on Omos, a guy that is literally 2 years younger than me and is already under the pressure of that situation in front of millions of people. This one is going into your fucking eye, all those fans. And this one is going up your fucking asshole. All right? Give the kid a chance to fucking do something before you just rip his head off. I thought he did fine. But my fear from a booking standpoint is that this is going to end up being a massive waste of time. Because now that he's lost a match, there's just something about it that tells me that in 6 weeks' time, we're going to see him coming out dressed as a dinosaur, dancing around and, trying to sell foam fingers to all the little kids and stuff like that. And look, I'm fine with him becoming this big, giant, real life giant that, if they want to turn him babyface. But there's just something that tells me that they're going to go ahead and do that too soon. They're not going to use this guy as a monster. I don't know what it is that gives me that impression, but there's something about the fact that he's already losing a match, a singles match, that makes me think the experiment's over. They've lost interest in him, which is a shame because I also think this is the best he's looked in a match so far, he being Omos.
I think he's the best. I think he's the best big man I've seen work, honestly. And the guy's very, very new to the biz. And I mean, Paul White was he became the best working big man, but it took Paul time to be able to do that and be able to have a nice work rate with the smaller guys. It took a lot of time for him to be able to do that. This guy in a year or two's time, he's almost there already, in my opinion. He's got a ton of talent.
And when you consider the fact, that's a great point as well, Bay, because when you consider the fact that Omos is much larger than a guy like Mark Henry, that was an Olympic powerlifter, very big guy, 400-pounder, Silsbee, Texas. It took him the first 15 years of his career before that switch finally went off and he all of a sudden overnight became this amazing wrestler that was just tearing the house down with Randy Orton and Christian and ended up becoming heavyweight champion. I've already seen Omos make leaps and bounds between last year's WrestleMania and this one. This was a much more high pressure situation than what he was in last year at WrestleMania. And I feel like he rose to the occasion. And to be honest, he's such a big, imposing dude that I think the fact that he lost the match made Bobby Lashley look better than it made Omos look bad. I think people won't remember that Omos lost, but they will remember that Bobby Lashley beat a guy that's that size, if that makes any sense. Oh, and the rating, I would give it probably a C-, somewhere in there.
Okay, no problem, bro. Yeah. I just it's like his first like WrestleMania singles match. I just would have waited another year maybe if they had to do it, but I would have waited several years probably, but that's just me. Okay, let's move forward to I can't believe I'm saying it, but this is one of my favorite matches on the show because I was so entertained. We were watching together, Juicy Boy. I was pounding my hands together, clapping. I was laughing my ass off. This was like the movie Home Alone, but in the confines of a wrestling match. Johnny Knoxville takes on Sami Zayn. Bay Ragni, I'm throwing this to you first. What did you think of this one?
I'm telling you what, I was blown away because when I saw that Johnny Knoxville was on this, I was like, oh no. This is just going to go so wrong, so bad. And I'm going to say, I think this might be match of the night because it was the most entertaining match by far. It just worked. They figured a way somehow to make Johnny Knoxville look like a good worker because if it was not for Anything Goes, it wouldn't have worked. But the fact that it was Anything Goes and they could pull out all these contraptions and the Jackass crew and how over was Wee Man? I mean, what they did was perfect. I love this match so much. The only thing I was saying, like, that I thought really, like, in the Wee Man spot would have been great, which the Wee Man spot, I don't think maybe could have been top, but I thought it would have been a nice way to bring Bam Margera back into the Jackass family. If people would have saw Bam come out to make the save for Knoxville to help him go over, I think the place would have definitely went nuts. But it didn't need it. It didn't need it. And it was truly, it might be my match of the night. I just love this match so much. This match was truly the definition of sports entertainment.
Yes. Oh, I love hearing it from you, bro. That's great to hear. Because look, before I throw it to you, Juicy Boy, I saw what Dave Meltzer said on Twitter. I got to stop reading his bullshit. I have to stop. I don't know why I do it to myself. It's just, I punish myself by it, but I just want to see what he has to say because I know it's going to piss me off. It's stupid, but I did it. And he said it was horrible. He said, oh, well, the Sami Zayn, Johnny Knoxville, it was just horrible. I mean, when Wee Man scoop slammed Sami Zayn, the live crowd liked it, but I mean, like, does he not look at the crowd reaction?
Dave Meltzer.
Really?
Dave Meltzer. And I'm like, you think you love the stadium stampede matches AEW do. You think it's hilarious when when their main guys dress up as the fucking Ghostbusters and all that. But WWE have something like this and it's horrible. It's horrible. Yeah. How can you not be entertained by this? Especially when Sami Zayn is running around the ring and all of a sudden a massive hand just smacks him on his ass. It was amazing as far as I'm concerned. Again, it was like the Home Alone version of a wrestling match. Knoxville took these great bumps. Zayn off the top with the flip bump through the table with mouse traps on it. Some great stuff. Juicy Boy.
All right. This match is getting an A- from me right off the bat. I'm a huge Jackass fan, have been for a long time since I was a child. So this match was even better and rewarded you if you were a fan of Jackass going into it. However, the beauty of it was that anyone watching would have enjoyed it. First of all, Johnny Knoxville's attire itself, throwback to something he was wearing in the very first episode of Jackass, which was cool. But also, it set the tone that this is not going to be Johnny Knoxville trying to pull a Logan Paul and trying to really have a serious match. It's going to have a wackiness and a zaniness to it. the second thing that I want to point out about it is Sami Zayn. It cannot be understated how incredible he is, not just in this match itself, but the entire program, the entire feud, which has been going on since about January. Like, it's been going on since the build up to the Royal Rumble. And Zayn and Knoxville have tremendous chemistry together. And I think that Sami Zayn, everything he did, going up for the body slam for Wayman, making sure he was in the right position, making sure that, you know, his head was in the right spot of that big mousetrap at the end, taking the perfect bump through that table covered in the mousetraps and everything like that. Just without him in there, I don't think that this goes off in as fluid and as perfect a way as it did. It was one of them lightning in a bottle things where, yes, everything's booked really well and structured really well, and both people involved clearly are professionals who know what they're doing. Johnny Knoxville obviously isn't a wrestler, but he's a professional entertainer. So he knows that he's there to do a job and stuff like that. And you could see that he was really immersing himself in it fully. The other thing I want to point out is that AEW constantly tries to put on matches where they do stupid, zany, wacky shit that they think is funny, and it's not actually funny. This was an example of how comedy can be used effectively in a match, because comedy has been a backbone of this entire program. This program began because Johnny Knoxville thought it was funny to make fun of Sami Zayn, and Sami Zayn happens to be this paranoid conspiracy theorist who's losing his mind from years of toiling away in the WWE mid-card. And those two things clashed together to create this perfect storm where now Sami Zayn has a bug up his ass about Johnny Knoxville, but Johnny just finds it so amusing to wind Sami Zayn up that he keeps responding to Sami Zayn to the point where it escalates to a full-on match. And that is why by the time we actually get here at WrestleMania, we think it's hilarious to see the big slap with the big inflatable hand. We think it's hilarious to see the kick with the the mechanical prosthetic leg kicking him in the balls, because it's been earned by setting the tone, setting the stage, setting the table properly. And the final thing that I want to mention, props to the production crew. When Chris Pontius suddenly showed up in the ring, we didn't see him actually show up or even that he was anywhere nearby. But suddenly the camera panned out and he was standing in the ring and we're like, oh, yes, it's Chris Pontius. And then, you know, same thing with Wayman. They didn't make a big point of like panning down to the ring apron so that you could see Wayman come out. It's like you just sort of saw off to the in the corner of your vision. You could sort of see something happening over at the ring apron. And then a moment later, you were like, oh, it's him, like Wayman's there. And then by the time you notice what's happened, he's already going to town on Sami Zayn. So yeah, everything flowed together in a way that's probably once in a million as far as just how perfect everything looked. You know, the camera did a great job. They hid that big hand out of sight. And then suddenly it filled the frame as Sami was coming running towards us.
Yeah.
It's just
we
amazing.
didn't see it at all beforehand. Yeah. And that's what made it so good.
I also would like to even credit, and this is probably a rare thing for wrestling reviews, but the production side of this match went off so well that I want to credit the guys in the truck quickly before moving on, because I thought it was hysterical how Wayman gets kicked in the face by Sami Zayn, like kicked pretty hard as well. You could see that it was like, you know, a bit of a potato. And then like they pretty much replay it straight away, and you could tell the commentators were struggling not to laugh at it. You just see in slow-mo, you see Wayman's face get this look of horror on it, and then you just see this huge boot heel slam into the side of his face. It's like the camera's right in there, they're replaying it in slow-mo as if we need to see this poor little person get destroyed in slow motion. Stuff like that just amuses me. I don't know why, but I wanted to point that out. And I've already waffled on for too much. I'm just beaming over it. It was such an entertaining, fun match. And I mean, I hope they don't try to do another match like this with Knoxville and Zayn, Like, I want them to just leave it
One
at
and
this
done.
one and done. Yeah.
Done. This match on paper did not work, and somehow
Yeah.
they made a beautiful match of entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. I was expecting, like, I went into this thinking I'm probably going to enjoy this personally as a Jackass fan and as a person that's enjoyed the feud, but I didn't expect that I was going to love it, you know, and I didn't expect that the crowd was going to. I mean, this might as well have been a Jerry Lawler main event in Memphis, the way that the audience was, the live crowd was responding. So fucking hell, props to all guys involved in that piece of business.
Props big time too to Sami Zayn. I remember last year he impressed the hell out of me, and that guy, he's an amazing talent. He really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's no wonder why they wanted to re-sign him, and you know, this was a great spot for him. I think this is the high point of WrestleMania weekend for me, to be honest with you. After having, I think this is now the 5th show that I've been a part of reviewing for the weekend. This was probably the high point for me. I was just, and you were there, Juicy Boy. You could hear me laughing my ass off. Okay. The next up, well, you know, you had to go from this to something a little bit more tame. So we have a 4-way WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match. Shayna Baszler and Natalya Neidhart, Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, Naomi and Sasha Banks, and of course Carmella and Queen Zelina. Geez, who were the champions? Oh, Carmella and Zelina. Okay. Oh dear. Yeah, I mean, they haven't really put a lot of focus on the women's tag titles over the last few pay-per-views that we've been watching, Juicy Boy. So that's probably why I couldn't remember who the champions were. But I want to throw it to you first, bro, on what you thought of this 4-team matchup.
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm giving this match a C+. I want to point out my favorite thing about this was that these tag teams did not feel like singles wrestlers thrown together into teams. Each team had their own defined identity and their own feel, even though like Sasha Banks and Naomi aren't a tag team in the permanent sense, their respective characters fit and align with each other. You could see why, if this in-universe WWE product, if this was real life, you could see why those two would form a team. Same with, you know, Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, and same with Natalya and I'm blanking on. What's that? Shayna Baszler, yes. So yeah, in their case, they're both like the shooter, technical, you know, hard-hitting types. And then Queen Zelina and Carmella, the champions, are your uppity, hoity-toity, kind of like, you know, high-class princess diva-ish types. So everyone had their own defined identity. I thought that every single woman in this match, you know, looked stunning, but they also performed at an extremely high level. They all seemed motivated. They all seemed like they were having fun. There was not a single competitor out of these 8 women that were involved in this match that I didn't feel like earned their paycheck. And, you know, it's unfortunate because I do think that this match will be forgotten about tomorrow. Like, or on the Raw, you know, on Raw tomorrow night. I do think that most people in the audience will even remember that was on. And that's a shame because I think it was really quite entertaining.
Fair enough, bro. Bay, what did you think of the women's tag team title match?
It didn't work for me. I didn't like it at all. I was like honestly really disappointed because last year, the women's match, I think it was on night 2, I thought was match of the whole WrestleMania. It just blew me away. So I was really looking forward to this year's women's match. And I think it was just too many people in the ring, you know, with the 4 teams. I think it was just too much. And something I really, really hate that drives me nuts when you have, you know, and this comes into play, especially when you're doing like a 3-way or these 4-corner matches like this. You're seeing these overly big scripted spots to get all 6 or 8 people involved, and it just looks so unnatural. And you're seeing it's taking time for everybody to get set and in place, and it just, to me, it takes away from the flowing of a match, it just slows everything down, puts it to a halt because everybody's got to make sure you're in place, take care of each other, don't get hurt, and do it. And to me, I think there was two of those spots in the match, and neither of them looked good. There was no pop. It just didn't work. I just didn't like the match. I was really disappointed. I think after Sasha Banks got out of the Lamborghini, it was all downhill from there.
So too many cooks in the kitchen kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a shame. It's a shame because all those competitors, sorry to interrupt that, bro, but yeah, everyone involved they deserve, they really deserve something on the show because they're all
absolutely.
Great.
And that's what it comes down to. Like, here's how can we get everybody involved that deserves it on WrestleMania? And that's why you end up having a couple of these matches over the 2 nights. And, I get it. Sometimes it can work. This time, for me, I didn't think it worked.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just think these multi-tag, the men did fine with it to open the show, but they've also been, all 3 of them have been a team for quite some time now, so they've gelled already. Now you add a 4th team for the women here, and out of these women, Carmella and Zelina maybe have been the team the longest, or maybe Baszler and Natalya, but Natalya was also with Tamina before. Rhea was with bloody Nikki ASH before. Sasha was with Bailey. Like, they don't seem to keep any of the women together for long enough to get to the point where they've gelled well enough. Where maybe in a matchup like this, it could seem like it makes a bit more sense than what it did, because I just don't think it makes any sense. It's like, again, as Bay said, like, that we got to try and get everyone on the show, so let's just do this. Well, how about you don't? How about you just think ahead of time of where you want the women's tag team titles and the situation to be in a year's time? You don't bring in a tag team title and then for the whole time that there is a tag team title, there's never really any established teams that stick around or stick together long enough. I mean, they had the Iconics, who are now in Impact Wrestling now. They were like the only tag team that was a tag team before they brought in the belts. Sorry to go on a bit of a rant here, but like, this is where I feel like the problem is with the women's tag titles is that, these teams, I guarantee you Carmella and Zelina probably won't be a tag team in 3 months. Like, their run's probably over now and they're probably going to be doing something else. But as far as the match is concerned, I wrote E for effort for the double tower suplex, the power bombs and stuff. But like, I've seen that spot a heap of times now. And it's kind of like, I like when things happen because it looks like happenstance. Like, somebody does a dive to the outside just as that guy turns around, and that's where that collision takes place, not standing there waiting to catch him. I like it when it looks like it's more realistic in that sense. So like, E for effort, it was like, it looked cool, but it didn't mean anything. The only thing I did like about it was really, like, I just couldn't tell who was going to win. And that for me is the best part of a wrestling match, is when I'm going into it, I'm like, I can't tell who's going to win this. So that makes it more exciting for me. So that was really the best part of it. And then, when Sasha and Naomi won, I was surprised. But then again, I probably would have felt that way no matter who won. I did want Rhea and Liv to win because that is the tag team I am most attracted to. Just going to be honest. And the only other thing was, like, I was sick and tired of them cutting back to Corey Graves. We get it.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Going out with Carmella,
Yeah,
we get it.
we
It's
get
your
it.
girlfriend. We didn't need to see
You've had sex with her,
like 8
like,
times.
we understand it. We understand it, dude. You're having sex with her. Like, she's your partner. Great. Good for you.
Yeah, good for you. We don't care. Actually,
I don't
pisses
care.
us off. It pisses us. We're pissed off about it, bro.
Am I jealous? Am I a little bit jealous of it? Yes. But you know what? Even if you weren't dating Carmella, you'd still be a fucking douchebag. I don't need the camera to keep fucking cutting back every 2 seconds to you and your little rose petal tuxedo. Let's move on. Let's.
Oh, bro. Look. As I've said on last year's WrestleMania review, I'll say it now. I will offer this one for you, Corey Graves. You can eat all of our ball butter, bro. Thank you.
That's right.
Okay, let's move forward. one match that I was probably most excited for, AJ Styles taking on Edge. When Edge returned 2 years ago, the first person he interacted with in that Royal Rumble was AJ Styles. Ever since then, all people have been saying, man, when are we going to get to AJ versus Edge? Let's get to that. Let's get to that. I'm going to go first here for my notes. And I said this to you, Juicy Boy, as we were watching, and I'm sorry to bring up AEW, but
no,
look at the difference between Edge and what they've been doing with him, and look what AEW's done with Christian. People have been, those fans over there have been bagging out Edge and saying, oh, Christian's happy with what he's doing. What? Following around a tag team and not actually really, he's had one match this year on television. One match. Yeah. Whereas Edge, from the time he came back to now, he has gone from angle to angle to angle to angle, and he was presented. His entrance was incredible. I really, really liked his entrance. He's being presented as a massive deal, whereas on the other side of the coin, Christian is the manager of a tag team that, as far as I'm concerned, is overrated. Sorry. I wanted to put that out there because it was in my notes. Right, to the match. Great anticipation for me for this. I waited 2 years. There was a nice slow build. And some of the things that Edge took and did in this match made me keep thinking to myself, dude, your neck. Like, I can't believe you're doing this to yourself. The suplex off the top rope onto the ring apron. Are you kidding me? That AJ's a pro, man. Like, he was safe, and I think Edge was safe on landing. But props to him for having. He must be confident now with his previous injury that he's happy to go to these lengths. I'll spit it out eventually. Yep, Styles clash. You know, we have some suspense leading toward the finish here, but something was missing from the finish that I didn't feel. I felt like something wasn't right with it. Like, I like the Damian Priest cameo and him being put with Edge. That's cool. And I'm sure they'll be a good team moving forward. But what I'm looking for is Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels. I'm looking for a whole bunch of false finishes that has captured my spirit and has made me feel like by the end of it, wow. I don't think I got that wow from this. But not to say it was a bad match. It was fantastic. But from what my expectation was, I didn't quite get that. Mr. Bay Ragni, your thoughts on Edge versus AJ Styles?
You nailed it. First off, what the hell happened to Edge? He looks like hell. He just looks horrible. Like, is it me?
Like, do you mean gaunt? Like his face and stuff? Like, yeah.
His face, he looks so just haggard and worn out. Like, I just kept saying to myself, like, is this dude hitting the bottle really hard or something? Like, something's going on there. Like, he looks like shit. Like I'm worried about him. Like, something's going on there. And going into the show, on paper, to me, this was going to be the match of the night. Like, this technically should have been that highlight reel of the night with all the high spots that worked and everything, and a lot of false finishes, and was going to be this technical, this Flair Steamboat classic I was expecting to see. And it was a good match, but it just fell so short. Like, you can see where they were trying to go, but it never got there. Something was going on that it just never got there. It didn't get those high pops. It just missed for me so much, and I was really disappointed by it.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, I was just expecting this to be one where years down the line people will be like, remember AJ versus Edge at WrestleMania? Remember Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels? I thought it would be in the same conversation as kind of like the greatest matches of all time. And
I think people will remember more AJ popping his shoulder back in than the rest of the match.
Yeah, and all people have actually been talking about on social media and Twitter was how AJ got the cut in his face during his entrance.
Yeah. What was that?
That's what everyone's been talking about, because Dave Meltzer said it happened during the pyro, but he actually, and then people jumped on him because he was wrong, because it actually happened when he was making his entrance through the entranceway, the corner of one of the stars. He actually hit his head on it as he was walking out.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why he was bleeding. But that's what everyone's been talking about. No one's actually been talking about the match. So I think that's quite poignant there. Juicy Boy, what did you think of this? Because I know you were in the same boat as me. You were pumped for this one.
Yeah, I think that what we saw was definitely what I would consider to be a 3.5/4 star match. I'm going to give it a B-. I agree with you guys that it wasn't the WrestleMania classic that I think a lot of people were expecting. If anyone out there remembers the first pay-per-view match between John Cena and AJ Styles at SummerSlam in 2014, that was the big match between the face of the WWE versus the face of TNA for all those years. That match had a big fight feel. It's still talked about to this day. It was an incredible match. I think that people, when they think of Edge versus AJ Styles, they were hoping it was going to be that type of match with that type of big fight feel. But to me, this felt more like a big time intercontinental title match than it would have a big time main event match between like two former world champions, which these guys both are. I think that the intangible that you might be thinking about with the finish kind of missing a little of that extra spark. I agree with you guys on that wholeheartedly. I think that rather than just having Damian Priest pop up into the camera view, what they should have done was they should have had Damian Priest show up out of nowhere and actually pull the referee out of the ring after that Styles clash and break up the pin that way. And then by the time AJ Styles has stood up, dealt with Damian Priest by giving him a couple of shots and climbed the top rope, Edge is now in position to hit that spear and get the pinfall. Because as it was just a little weird that AJ kind of looked over at Damian Priest, noticed that he was there, and then continued on doing what he was going to do the entire time. It doesn't really have a lot of logic to it. Yes, it makes sense that AJ would find it jarring that Damian Priest would be suddenly standing there and perhaps be unprepared for it. But at the same time, if this was real, you would certainly reassess your surroundings if you're AJ Styles, and you'd be like, why is this guy suddenly here? This can't be a coincidence that he's just suddenly standing out here randomly. So maybe I shouldn't dive off the top rope like I was planning on without looking and seeing what Edge has been doing while I've been looking over at Damian Priest. So I think that that kind of contributed to it feeling a little bit flat. Like it's kind of a hole in the logic of what they were trying to do. And the final comment that I'm going to make is that I feel like Edge, the character overhaul and the entrance and everything like that really worked for me. To me, I feel like this is what Edge should have been when he debuted all the way back in 1999 or 1998. I think that this is what he should have come into the company doing. Whereas if you remember back to when he debuted all those years ago, they didn't really know what the fuck his character was. This is what I imagine that early version of Edge would have been if he'd had his way all those years ago. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
No worries, bro. Well, moving on from there. Talk about one of your all-time classics. Sheamus and Ridge Holland with Butch taking on the New Day, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. I only wrote 3 notes. This is going to take a bit to make me care because this feels like a match you just see on SmackDown. And then it was over. Sheamus and Ridge destroyed the New Day. I think you had gone to the toilet, Juicy
That's
Boy.
right. That's right.
And when you came back, it was over.
Yeah, I came back after doing a shit. And like all of a sudden, I come back in I take, and they were celebrating, like the music was playing, it was over. I was like, what? No, in fact, they weren't even celebrating. Like they'd completely cut away to something else. There was like a highlight package or something playing when I came back into the room, and I was like, wait a sec, did I pass out? And it's actually been half an hour, not 2 minutes.
Yeah, not really much to add there. But Bay,
No.
what did you think? Was this a waste of time?
Yeah, the first thing I said was, who did the New Day piss off?
Well, actually, it's thank God that you mentioned that, because this match was originally scheduled to be on night one. And even though WWE has a 4-hour running time to play with and have all this extra shit they want to stuff WrestleMania with, somehow at the last minute, New Day versus Rich Holland and Sheamus got bumped off of the show. And Xavier Woods put out a tweet last night at about 11:45 your time, like American time, PM, and said, "Oh, who do you guys think is going to win out of the New Day and Sheamus and Rich Holland?" Obviously a facetious remark, kind of referencing, oh, gee, so glad that we showed up here and got ready for a match that's now not happening. So I actually think that this was kind of a little receipt for that tweet that Xavier Woods sent out. I think they were deliberately buried as sort of a little punishment. And, people may think that I'm kind of being a bit of a conspiracy nut in saying that, but these companies have been known to be that petty in the past, unfortunately.
Oh.
Yeah.
They've been petty. The wrestling business has been petty like that since day one.
I remember Doug Basham told me about how when the Bashams were told that they were losing the tag titles on an edition of SmackDown, he said, well, but the pay-per-views in 2 weeks, wouldn't it make more sense to do it at the pay-per-view? Because he asked a question, they were off SmackDown for 10 months and relegated to the B show Velocity and weren't utilizing stories because he asked a question to Michael Hayes. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, Michael Hayes is showing himself to be a fucking prick most of the time. So, yeah. God, I hope I never meet Michael Hayes, because everything that I've ever seen of him speaking has been off-putting.
Come on, DJ.
Piss off, you
scared with me.
Drunken hick.
All right, let's move forward into a bit more positivity, at least from my end. Austin Theory, the protege for Mr. Vince McMahon, takes on Pat McAfee. Like, going into this, this was insane. Let's be perfect. The whole thing was insane, and it went from one thing to another, and I couldn't fathom, because I couldn't fathom this happening from looking at the match on paper. So I've got some notes, but I want to save what I've got to say after listening to what you two have to say. Jooseyboy, first and foremost, what did you think of Theory and McAfee?
Yeah, well, I want to say at the outset, I'm most excited to hear Bay's analysis of this as someone that was actually in the business, and kind of, I'm really can't wait to hear, bro, what you think of just the way that this whole thing was laid out.
If you can't wait, should we throw it to him straight away?
Yeah, you know what? Let's throw it to him right now. I can't wait. I want your thoughts, dude.
I need some help on the whole layout, because was this McAfee's first match? Has he been working matches?
So McAfee was trained by Rip Rogers.
Okay.
McAfee actually went out on his own accord in his own time to get trained to wrestle, and then when he started working with WWE, because he had a little bit of that wrestling background, he did a program with Adam Cole in NXT, which resulted in a match with Adam Cole, which is Pat McAfee's only match to this point before this WrestleMania match. And it was quite well received as far as Pat's performance. However, on a stage as large as this is the first time Pat McAfee's had a match. So yeah.
And what's now? See, again, with this whole background part of it. So, former football player. That's once I heard the name and I saw somebody holding a football jersey. Then it clicked with me. I was like, okay, former football player. Yeah, I remember the name from football. And I guess he sounds like he's got a very successful talk show or something?
Yeah, he has one of the most successful podcasts in the world. Like it's kind of like a sports / variety. It's like a daily podcast, I'm pretty sure. Like they run it every weekday. And he's basically he's turned that into, he's kind of famous just as much for that as he is for football these days, as kind of a sports pundit. And he's also been receiving on the by and by rave reviews for his work as one of the commentators of SmackDown, which he's been doing for about the past year and a half or so.
Nice. Okay. So I mean, honestly, I love this match. I thought this match was amazing. You know, but again, here's a guy I didn't know the true background, the story, and I didn't know what his training was like and how much he's been involved. But that guy is fucking over like a motherfucker. I mean, you did come on. I mean, he probably had one of the biggest pops, if not the biggest pop of the night.
Yeah. I
mean, that crowd loves that guy. The whole angle with him and I mean, let's face it, the main thing is with McMahon. I was thinking to myself, very reminiscent of Stone Cold McMahon back in the day, that whole thing. So I kept saying to myself, I'm like, this is either a perfect opportunity to bring Shane McMahon back in or have Stone Cold come out. And they went with big. I just thought it was great, a fun match. This kid Austin Theory is going to be a true, talent and force for many years to come in the business. Is he related to McMahon somehow? How did he get that spot to be McMahon's protege?
Well, I think that he's not related to him, but I do believe that the protege storyline with him being kind of mentored by Vince stems from the fact that apparently the company in real life behind the scenes does consider Austin Theory to be a project, like an extremely valuable commodity in years going forward. And he has become a personal project of Vince McMahon behind the scenes as far as talents that Vince really wants to work with and see something done with. That's what we've heard, at least. I'm only a fan, so that's kind of just speculation. But yeah, that's what I've gathered from everything I've seen.
I kept saying though to myself, I mean, this kid's 24 years old. I was picturing myself when I was 24. If I was working on the biggest stage in wrestling in front of almost 80,000 people and millions of people watching, and Vince McMahon is 5 feet from the ring watching my match, I'd be shitting myself. And that kid worked his balls off and had a great, phenomenal match, very fun, entertaining match. And they did what the match was supposed to do. They did exactly that. They told a beautiful story. They had McAfee was over from the time he walked out. It put him over in the ring. It put the storyline over. It got the crowd so into it. You had the whole storyline with Austin coming out then, Austin giving stunners to everybody, even though McMahon's stunner looked like shit. That kind of, if he would have taken that perfect stunner, it would have worked even better. But even Austin was laughing his ass off about it. Beers at the end, and you knew McAfee had to get the stunner as well. And great story told, great booking, great things. And I see tremendous future in wrestling for both McAfee and Austin Theory.
Excellent, Bay. Well, there we go, Jooseyboy. We got the thoughts from Mr. Bay Ragni there. What did you think, bro? We were watching this the whole time. We just couldn't believe that this thing went from one thing to another like this. Yes, Bay.
One more thing I just wanted to say real quick, because I had it in my notes. Austin Theory's bump he took for their Austin Stunner, I thought was the best stunner bump ever in the history of pro wrestling.
Yeah, it was a great sell for the
glad that one came up after the worst stunner in history. So.
Yeah.
Yes. So the match itself between McAfee and Austin Theory, I pretty much echo your sentiment, Bay. I thought it was great. I think, especially considering the relative inexperience of McAfee, that Austin Theory showed a lot of, what he's capable of, and McAfee as well continues to show both on commentary and in the ring now just really what a valuable talent he is. It was fun seeing him experience that because he's well documented as being like a lifelong, diehard pro wrestling WWE fan. And you could tell he was beaming from ear to ear. Him and Michael Cole, since McAfee has been on commentary, apparently are actually really good friends in real life. And Michael Cole, his career has almost been rejuvenated by working with Pat. So this whole thing on so many different levels was really exciting to watch. And that excitement to me was palpable through the screen for me watching at home. There's also something that I heard. I heard a different analyst talking about this match, saying that all the people that said that Dave Meltzer was stupid and wrong for calling Vince McMahon versus Pat McAfee at WrestleMania, all the people that said that he was wrong and stupid need to apologize because Vince actually did end up facing Pat McAfee at WrestleMania. No. Let me just say this. Dave Meltzer was not correct about Vince McMahon and Pat McAfee having a match at WrestleMania. Vince McMahon and Pat McAfee ended up having kind.
Boy, are you there?
Oh no.
Bay, you're still there? Yep, you are.
I'm still here. Yeah.
I don't know.
He's stuck in time.
Juicy boy, are you there? Something's going wrong here.
Oh no.
He was making such, look at him. He's making such
I
an
know.
astute point as well.
A few moments later.
Like it was a full dropout. All devices, like a complete dropout of my internet.
All right, okay.
Wow.
We're still recording, so let's continue, okay? Let's continue.
Yeah. So
Pretend that nothing happened, okay?
Yeah.
We have to pretend nothing happened. You didn't ruin our flow. You didn't ruin how everything was going, Juicy Boy.
yeah, that's
Let's just
right.
pretend this won't
No.
make the final cut. I promise.
We're gonna
I promise
pretend,
it won't make the final cut.
we're gonna
You've ruined
we're-
everything, okay?
we're
You've
gonna
ruined
pretend we're gonna pretend that I didn't ruin the review and possibly the entire weekend. But as I was saying, Meltzer is still full of shit. He's not a sidekick, and it's a case of the horse, the cart leading the horse, so to speak, not the other way around. Fuck yourself, Meltzer. You're annoying. And the match itself was really awesome. I personally loved seeing Vince get back in the ring. He looked like he was having a ball out there. He had his granddaughters at least were in the audience because we saw Triple H hug them earlier on during his entrance. And I just really felt like it looked like he was having a ball out there. And after 40 years of running this company and doing what he's done with it, you know what? I liked it. I loved it. I had a lot of fun with it. So, anyone else that disagrees, send your hate tweets at Juicy Boy.
Lovely, bro. Lovely stuff. Look, I really enjoyed the Theory McAfee part of it, and if that's all that it was going to be, I thought then that was awesome, and that would be all I needed. When all of a sudden, after the match was over, for it to become this Vince, when he went to take the jacket off, at first I thought he was just messed around and he was just going to walk off backstage, but then he really did take the jacket off, and then I was like, there's no way. He's going to go in there and maybe Pat will knock him on his ass and that'll be it. No. Then the referee got in the ring and I'm like, are you kidding me that this is happening right now? Like he's wearing his old singlet. He still looks like, he's got some good arms on him. I thought this is just, Pat's just going to, I can't believe Vince beat him. I couldn't believe he beat him by punting a football into his stomach. It was great. Some people may see that and see his weak clotheslines and how slow he moved. They might see that as a negative and will pick on it. But for me, this was entertaining. Seeing Vince at his age now still get in there and try and do something. To me, I loved every second of it.
Yeah.
Then once it was over and Theory got in the ring with him, I thought to myself, either Vince is going to turn on Theory here because they're kind of just standing there. Something is going to happen. Usually they cut to a replay or They cut to some other bullshit. Something's about to happen. Theory's theme song played, and I saw Vince kind of look at the entranceway, but then realize, wait a minute, no, that's Theory's theme song. And then I was just thinking, I think Stone Cold's coming out. I reckon Stone Cold is coming out here. There is no way that they're having this open air for nothing. I'm too used to this happening. What do you know? The glass shatters. Out he comes and like, oh, here we go. One more for the road. You know, Austin had his retirement match yesterday, his unofficial retirement match with Kevin Owens. One more stunner for Vince. Here we go. He's just too old to take that stunner. But I don't care. I don't care that it was botched. It was hilarious to see Vince take it one more time.
And bro, it's a throwback to the very first time that he took the stunner, which was also a very awkward. He never really took it that well.
He always took it like shit. Yeah.
It's almost like a trademark. It almost made it better for me that he messed it up. like they're both getting so worked up with the adrenaline of what they're doing that like Austin didn't even take a second to regroup and like kick him in the gut again. He just grabbed him, pulled him back in, and was like, "Hey, goddamn Vince, we're doing this, you old bastard." I loved it. Like,
yeah, fantastic. Like he kicked him in the gut, and Vince went backwards, and I'm like, "What is going on?" And Michael Cole tried to cover up for it by saying Vince is trying to evade it or get away from it, but he just lost complete balance. But fantastic. And then the thing with Pat, you knew it was coming. You know it's coming, and I'm sure Pat was because I know he's a big wrestling fan, and that's why he's a part of all of this and got involved in the first place. For him, he just got to have his WrestleMania moment by wrestling Austin Theory. Then he got to wrestle Vince McMahon technically in a match, in probably Vince's last match. Then he got to take a stunner from Stone Cold. That's kind of like a trifecta of a wrestling fan's dream, to have a match, to have an interaction with Vince McMahon, and to take a Stone Cold stunner after having a beer with him. Excellent stuff.
And the final thing I want to mention beforehand, that was why it was also amazing seeing Vince get involved physically with Stone Cold again, was the other day in preparation for Stone Cold being at WrestleMania. I happened upon this video, which was a compilation of like the funnest stunner cells. And there was probably about like 7 or 8 stunners to Vince in there, each of them a little bit different from each other. And one that had me in absolute hysterics was just this one where they were having a beer, and like Vince takes a sip, and then he's kind of smiling, and then like you see Austin go like that, flip him off, and then you can hear Vince go like as Stone Cold like kicks him in the midsection. You hear him go damn it, like, and then he stuns him. This reminded me of that stunner, like the way that he kind of, it was weird the way that he kind of flopped around and hit the ropes and then came back. It was just, I don't know. I liked it better than if he had sold it perfectly, honestly. I just think it added like charm to it. Like,
yeah, he never took it the same way one time. It was always different every time. I don't think Vince even knows what's going to happen when he takes it. So, but yeah, to anyone out there, and I know that there's people out there because, you know, I go on Twitter and I know how toxic you all out there, you fucking skid marks. But if you weren't entertained by this, if you couldn't just let yourself just let go for a second to be entertained by this, because you take it all too fucking seriously, I feel bad for you.
Yeah, it's a you problem.
It's a you problem.
It is a you problem.
And if you thought it was bad, you're actually wrong.
And you're objectively wrong. Your opinion is objectively wrong. It's bullshit.
Right there. See that? Right
and
there.
We can say that. We can say that because this is our show.
Yeah.
You get your own show if you want to disagree with us. You get your own show.
Exactly.
But you can't have Bay Ragni on your show. He's on our show.
Never. He's our boy.
He's our best friend. He's our close personal friend.
All right, let's get to the end here, guys. The main event, Unification, Universal Champion Roman Reigns, WWE Champion Brock Lesnar, I'm going to throw it once again to our esteemed analyst. This guy right here, professional wrestler, is in his resume. He's been there, he's done that, he knows all about it. The one, the only, Mr. Bay Ragni. Please tell me about the main event.
So honestly, like I was never a big Brock Lesnar fan, first off, and Roman Reigns either. I like neither of them never really did anything for me. So going into the match, I was not overly excited or anything, but I thought it was a really great match, a great main event match. I thought it worked. I thought like going back to the Edge AJ Styles match, like you knew what these guys were going for and they delivered it. It worked. They made it work. They made it happen where AJ and Edge, it just didn't happen. I was a little shocked. I was thinking Lesnar was going to get the title. So I was a little shocked that they put Reigns over again. But overall, I thought it was a great match. You know, I was very happy with it. I was just very happy and satisfied. And I thought it was a nice way to wrap things up and end the show. It worked.
Excellent. Juicy Boy.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the main event.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've already pretty much talked everyone's ear off already on this review, so I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm giving this match an A+, and the reason I'm giving it an A+ is because while it wasn't a 5-star technical masterpiece, it, as Bay said, it delivered on everything that it was meant to be. It was that big showdown, that big classic match between two titans, two heavyweight titans that, by the way, this is their third time headlining WrestleMania against each other in the main event. So it's already got that cachet of being a big deal. And now you've got the additional element of the roles being reversed, Reigns being the heel, Lesnar being the babyface, Heyman being on Reigns' side instead of Brock Lesnar's. The tables have turned. The optics have shifted. What's going to happen? And what happened was two big bulls going at it, two big bastards going out there, throwing some bombs, kicking some ass, and whipping those 80,000 people into a frenzy while they did it. I actually liked the fact that Roman Reigns won the match because I was expecting Brock Lesnar to win, even though it's one of the most anticipated matches for me all year, and probably one of the most anticipated Mania main events in the last few years. I still thought that it was all but academic that Brock Lesnar would end up the winner. Now I find Brock lost the match, so A, that means we get to see Lesnar potentially chasing after it again, which is cool, and B, who is eventually going to dethrone Roman Reigns? If it's not going to be Brock Lesnar, then who is going to be able to stop the run of dominance of the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns? Hell of a match, hell of a main event. I fucking loved it. That's all there is to it, really.
Excellent, bro. Every time you said that you're going to keep your thoughts short, you give us a very detailed analysis. I'm just letting you know. I'm not bagging you out.
Well, when I say short, I mean under 30 minutes.
Look, I'm going to keep this short, okay? Because all I need to say is that this is box office. As far as I'm concerned, when you look at both of them and you compare them to the main event guys in any other company, not just one particular one that I always seem to pick on.
Yeah.
Compare that. There's no comparison that can be made, okay, when you compare these two. This one actually had my heart pounding because, like, the suspense, I couldn't pick who was going to win. I couldn't pick who was going to win. That's all that matters to me, is that I don't go into a match thinking, oh, well, this guy's definitely probably going over. Reigns has, as they mentioned, Pedro Morales, Bruno Sammartino, Bob Backlund. There was one other guy, Hulk Hogan. Reigns is in that same range for the title length that he's had with this run. And now he's got the other belt with him. And rumors running rampant in Hollywood next year is going to be Reigns versus The Rock.
Oh,
who knows?
Man.
Who knows? But if he can hold these belts for another year and still stay kind of like an interesting character, and it doesn't get too, I mean, he's a heel, so hopefully it doesn't get too negative of a reaction or people lose interest, because they say this heel run has been the best run he's had of his career, and that's a lot of people out there. I would probably keep it on him for another year, see what happens with him and Rock. But he is running out of opponents. He's beaten Lesnar, he's beaten Goldberg, he's beaten Cena, he's beaten McIntyre, he's beaten Big E,
Rollins, AJ,
Rollins, he's gone through all of them.
Owens. There's pretty much nobody at the top. I'm pretty sure he's pinned Lashley. He's pinned Big E. Yeah.
So,
who else is there?
I can't think. So anyway, great end to the show. I read some people online saying that they thought the finish was flat. I don't know where they got that from. How many more times do you want him to spear him? Like it was enough. It was at the right time, I think. But anyway, guys, there we have it. WrestleMania 38, Night 2. It's time for us to go around and give our final thoughts and our rating out of 10. Juicy Boy, you can go first.
Final thoughts. I think that, I'm a huge fan. I always enjoy something about WrestleMania. This year's WrestleMania was my favorite one that I've seen probably in the last 4 or 5 years. I thought it was a really good show. Both nights collectively and as individual events, I thought that they delivered and gave me what I wanted as a fan. And I'm going to give WrestleMania 38, the 2 nights combined, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Lovely. And our esteemed guest here today, the one and only Mr. Bay Ragni, your thoughts and your rating out of 10.
So I mean, I was actually pleasantly surprised. Like when you guys asked me to do this last year and this year, like I don't expect much because it doesn't really, I'm not into the whole wrestling world anymore. But I thoroughly enjoyed night 2. I didn't see night 1, but I thoroughly enjoyed night 2. And high points for me was Pat McAfee and I can't believe I'm going to say Johnny Knoxville's match. And sprinkled on top with the main event match. It was, those 3 made the whole rest of the show work. It was a great night of wrestling, a great night of entertainment. And I'll give it an 8 out of 10 for sure. I really enjoyed it.
Excellent, Bay. Well, for me, I haven't enjoyed a WrestleMania like this in many years. Probably since the mid-20, like WrestleMania 23 to like 27 or something. That's kind of when I started getting a little bit irritated with WrestleMania. But it's been a while. I really enjoyed this. For me to be laughing, clapping, cheering, to be enthralled, to have my heart pounding, to be on the edge of my seat at times, to be pleasantly surprised at different times. This is what I'm looking for. And unfortunately, it seems that WWE can only provide that for me one time in a year at WrestleMania. They don't have the best TV at times, which is why I don't watch Raw or SmackDown. If they could take just a little bit of the vibe from this WrestleMania and how fun it was and implement it on the weekly TV, then maybe things will improve with the ratings and all that. Maybe I'd be interested. So that's how great I thought WrestleMania was. I have to give this one an 8 out of 10. Just very happy with it, but I wouldn't watch it back a second time. That's when that's a 10 out of 10. That's like a WrestleMania 17. I can watch that over and over and never get sick of it. So I'm going to give it an 8. Very happy. And I just want to thank you both for being on this show. Juicy Boy, thank you. Where can everyone find you? The floor is yours.
Yeah, you can catch me on all social media, but I'm mostly active on the Twitter. And, you can find me on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, basically everywhere. And that word, that nomenclature that you're going to be typing in to track me down and send your hate mail to me is @JuicyBoy, and that is spelled JOOSEYBOY. and I'll see you on fucking social media.
Thank you, bro. And of course, Mr. Bay Ragni, please plug anything and everything you have going on. Let everyone out there know where they can find you.
All right, here's the Rolodex because we got a lot.
Go for it.
All right, look for me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Bay Ragni, The Bay Ragni Show. Also look for on all those outlets as well. Coco Bay. Look for it under Coco Bay Winning. And something else I do, I'm down here in Nashville, Tennessee now, and I run the Nashville Restaurant Review. So if you're coming to Nashville or if you're in Nashville and you're looking for a good place to eat, look for the Nashville Restaurant Review and follow us and look for us on all those outlets, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.
Wonderful. And, everyone out there, of course, WZWA Network, just type it in. WZWA Network, type it in. It's everywhere. Like we're on everything, even platforms that make no sense for us to be on, like MySpace. We have a MySpace.
Come on.
You don't. No one
We have
should.
a Pinterest. We do have a Pinterest. We have a Tumblr. You know,
We have a Tumblr. We have a
whatever your
DeviantArt.
scene is, whatever your bag is, we're involved.
We're there.
You know? Get them
We're
on.
there.
Nice.
So thank you, guys, once again. Really enjoyed this review. So thank you.
Man,
Thanks for having me, guys.
My pleasure.
You're welcome.
Ah.
And thank you, everyone out there, for checking out the WZWA Network's review of Night 2 of WrestleMania 38. I'm Karlifornia. This is Jooseyboy. And this is our main homeboy, Bay Ragni. And we will see you down the fucking road.
Network, that's the way we play. Good God Almighty. Network, that's the way we play. Get puppies. Network, that's the way we play. Get.
The following announcement has been paid for by the WZWA Network.